This tutorial is part of a YouTube playlist. You can access this and many more of the tutorials in this course. If you do like this YouTube playlist and you want to access the whole course, you can do on Udemy. The link to the YouTube playlist and YouTube course is in the video description. Hopefully you are now starting to feel familiar with the process of building models. Let's focus now on seasonal events. Now this table, we are storing the start and end time of an event and the name of the event. So this is a really slimmed down table, but once we start querying the database, it will add some complexities for us to better understand querying across tables. So for now, we're going to create the seasonal event table. It's going to have a start and end date, which is a time date field, and the name. So let's make the assumption that we want to, for example, create a product which is related to Christmas, a seasonal event. So we'd create a seasonal event, Christmas, start and end date time, and then create a product and then associate it to that seasonal event. So you can see in this scenario, we are going to create a foreign key to seasonal event. What's important here is to remember that a foreign key by default will be required. So if we define a foreign key, for example, in the product table here, then by default, it will be required when we add a new record to that table. Now, we don't want that to be the case in this case, because not all products will be connected to a seasonal event. So we want to make sure that the foreign key that we create in the product table, once we built the seasonal events table, is not required. So we want to make it optional. Now, what we will also find placing this class in this set of classes here, we ought to actually define the seasonal event class above where it's referenced in another class. So let's just, for example, let's just add this table. I've already created the seasonal event table. I'll quickly take you through it. So we have a table name seasonal event. There's nothing new here. We have the ID again, primary key, and we have a start date, end date, which is just a date time field, and the name column, which is going to be unique. Right, so you can pause and copy that out if you'd like to copy that out. So let's now go ahead and create the foreign key for that. So this, at the moment, this class is below all the other classes. So I'm going to go into product line here. Product line is product, isn't it? So in product, and we're going to need to make a foreign key here. So let's call this seasonal event, seasonal underscore event, and that's going to equal column. That's going to be an integer, and that's going to be a foreign key. Okay, so now we need to provide and to make sure that this can be null. So whereas before we've been specifying nullable false, let's go ahead and specify nullable true. Of course, we are going to also need to specify, like we have done with the other foreign keys. So here, for example, we specified category ID. So we've identified the relationship, the table that we're related to. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is seasonal event.id, ID, comma, nullable true. If you did watch and you did listen to me mention about, it's always probably a better idea to create one table first and then build the next table and then build the next table. And as you build those tables, just test to make sure that they work correctly, run some queries or build some queries, fully test it before you move to the next table. This is where it starts to get really tricky. Once you start adding all your relationships, that's where it adds an additional layer of complexity to try and fix any errors if you were to create the whole thing first. So although I am building the whole thing first here, the whole database first, I do definitely recommend if you are building your own database, maybe if you're in education and working on assignments, then do make sure that you build your database table by table and save your progress as you move along so you can roll back to the previous state should you have any problems and maybe just start again. Okay, so we've now created half of this design. I think it's now a good time to now start thinking about actually migrating it to a database, testing out, making sure it works correctly before they're moving on and creating these other tables. And that then creates a middle ground between creating tables individually and testing them out. I think that this is a very simple set of tables ultimately, and the relationships between them is fairly simple. It does get a little bit more complicated because we are going to be building these linked tables and so on. So that adds an additional layer of complexity because we have many-to-many relationships. So here we have a just really basic set of relationships connected via foreign keys. So with a little bit of experience, we should be able to build those tables quite comfortably and start building queries based upon the relationships that we've defined.